Welcome to General English class for 2nd BA 4th semester. This is session number 27. Today we are going to see about Introduction to Discrimination, Empowerment and Armed Forces. I am Mercy Victoria, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Kanakpura. We are going to see the fourth lesson which is prescribed for you, an interview with Sandhya Suri to the Better India. In the following sessions, we'll be handling in detail about this lesson. Before we move into the lesson, let's have an introduction session. In this introduction session, we are going to see about few of the terminology which are used in this particular lesson. The first and foremost is discrimination. What is discrimination? You must have come across this particular word. It is an act of making unjustified distinction between human beings based on the groups, classes, or other categories to which they are perceived to belong. Discrimination is something where a person is made unjustified distinction between human beings. Yes, it could be of the group he belongs or class he belongs or caste he belongs. So that is called discrimination. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಭೇದ ಭಾವ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು. There are various kinds of discrimination. ಭೇದ ಭಾವಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟೋ kinds ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಏನೇನು ಅಂತ ಈಗ ನೋಡೋಣ. Discrimination is made in the name of language, caste, disability, nationality, color, religion, gender, and status. Let us see what each of these means. Discrimination of language is where a person is treated unfairly of someone on the basis of their race and language. ಅವ್ರ ಭಾಷೆಯಿಂದ ಭೇದ ಭಾವನೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು. Caste discrimination is based on their caste they belong to. This is most prevalent in our nation. We see lower caste and upper caste. Third kind of discrimination is disability on the basis of physical disability. If a person is not able to move or if he is disabled, people discriminate him because of his disability. There's another discrimination called nationality, where a human being is discriminated on the basis of the country they belong. And color discrimination is based on the skin color. This particular discrimination is not very prevalent in our nation, but it is quite famous in Western countries. Religion is where a person is discriminated on the basis of the faith. Another important discrimination is that gender discrimination, where a differential or unequal treatment of male and female. So, this kind of discrimination is prevalent everywhere in our nation. Women have to prove their talents or prove their power in every spheres of life, be it a career or at home. Status discrimination is where unequal treatment on the basis of one's status in the society, rich and the poor. Rich gets richer and poor gets poorer, and poor people are not given equal opportunities in any given opportunity. Let us talk about gender discrimination. Gender discrimination, as we saw, is an unjust or unequal treatment of male and female. Gender ಭೇದ ಭಾವನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೇಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಮಧ್ಯ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. Female as women, we have to suffer a lot. There is always a point where we have to prove through our hard work. Even though women are talented, they are not given equal opportunity. There is always a discrimination, especially in career or in other forms, other fields. Why does it happen? Why is there a gender discrimination most prevalent in our nation? India, on the whole, as you take, is a male dominated society, patriarchal society we call. A male dominated society is that wherein male are given more importance than female. We've always seen that women are below male. So, which denies, it also denies an opportunity or privileges in the workplace. As women, we are denied the privileges or the opportunities which are due to us. Next, one thing, gender discrimination in armed forces. Gender discrimination can be seen in various fields, in any discipline, any fields. But then, have you ever heard of gender discrimination in armed forces? First of all, we just saw what is gender discrimination, and now we will see what is armed forces and what are the qualities of an people in the armed forces. Armed forces are nothing but which comprises of army, navy and air force. The Indian Armed Forces comprises the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Joining armed forces has always been seen as an attractive career opportunity by the youth. So, to serve the armed forces has always been a dream for many people, especially youth. Why do they join army or armed forces? First and foremost, it is adventurous. Yes, it gives lots of adventure, you know. So the armed forces offers a very adventurous career for individual fighting for the country and encourages difficult situation, provides a base, a very adventurous career. So ಆರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಂಗ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಅಡ್ವೆಂಚರಸ್ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಫಾರ್ ದೆಮ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ನೋ adventurous life one by saving the nation and for fighting for the nation. It calls for a life that is full of unpredictability, honor, victory and danger. ಈ ಆರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂತಿರೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಅನ್ಪ್ರೆಡಿಕ್ಟಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅಡ್ವೆಂಚರ್ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಬಿಗ್ ಅಡ್ವೆಂಚರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೆಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಡೇಂಜರ್ ಇಟ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ honor and the victory it gives plays a major role for adventure. Thirdly, an opportunity to interact with different kind of people. They get to interact with lots and lots of different kinds of people, and they get to travel to various places and kinds of people travel to different location, fight for the country and live a life of sense of belongingness. So why do people join armed forces? One, because of adventure. It gives a lot of adventure, unpredictability, danger and the sense of belongingness and the and you get to travel a lot of places, meet a lot of people. As a result, we get a lot of experience. So apart from that, the courage and the sense of belongingness and the courage to protect the nation gives them a big opportunity. Secondly, people join armed forces because of the respect they gain. Even now, when we meet anyone for that matter, any personnel from army, navy or air force, automatically we give respect. Why do we do that? The members of the armed forces are the most respected professionals in the society. So these people get the highest respect in the society. They why do they give that get that respect? They risk their own life for the sake of the nation so that you and I can live peacefully. The normal civilians can live peacefully. As a result, they have given their own life, they have risked their own life so that the normal people can live peacefully and be proud of their country. They are also doing that for the sake of you and me and for the country. They are highly respected for their selfless and courageous nature as well as for their discipline, technical and tactical skill. Apart from the courage and the strength, they also learn discipline and technical and tactical skills in the armed forces. As a result, we automatically develop a sense of respect for them. They not only have all these things, but as a part of their training, they also acquire certain skills which will be helpful even after they had left the armed forces. To acquire important and exclusive skills, these people join the armed forces. What are these skills? That are diverse in nature. These skills are very different and diverse in nature. What are these skills? These skills include physical skills such as strength and stamina. They have to work out a lot, which involves strength and stamina, and mental skills. They also been forced to give training on mental skills that are imparted through various training programs. Mental skills also require calmness and courage. So, they acquire both physical skills and mental skills. As a result, there is strength and stamina and calmness and courage. In every situation, they can portray this. Where do they get the training from? These trainings are given in a defense academy. So they join the academy and get trained in all these areas, both mental and physical. So, what does this skill do to them? These skills will be helpful in other professions as well as in the tenure in the armed forces. When they are in the armed forces, these skills come handy. um, Apart from the adventure, the respect, and the acquired skill, there is one more one more point why they join the armed forces. One is to serve the nation. They take pride in serving the nation. The biggest reason for joining the armed forces is to having an opportunity to serve the country. The responsibility to maintain the safety of the nation and protecting its honor is their priority. So to protect the nation, to honor the nation will be their prime responsibility. They also handle emergency situation during natural calamities. Yes, we always see, right, when there is flood, when there is emergency, medical emergencies, military or armed forces are called in to help the public. So these kind of serving the nation will be their the priority or the responsibility. It takes a lot of courage and motive to serve the nation. As you know, as I told you, armed forces are army, navy, and air force. These three fields are always a male dominated domain, meaning these fields have always been dominated by men. When did the women started taking part in these armed forces? I'll just give you a quick gist on when actually the women started taking part in the armed forces. Women were engaged in the armed forces as nurses in the beginning. So they were not recruited directly for armed forces, but in other fields as nurses, doctors, and other fields apart from the combat field. They were never given a chance to enter into the combat field. The first Navy recruit of women started in 1992. But there is a lot of development now. Yes, women have entered into the combat field also, as far as Navy is concerned, the warships, and Air Force, the combat field, and Army, everywhere. The biggest drawback, I could say, or the need what the women should develop is strength, courage, resilience, and hard work are essential to be part of this armed forces. They need, great strength and courage to be part of the armed forces. Let us see who are some of the prominent personalities in armed forces. Yes, women have always, shined in whatever field they are in. There are certain women who have outshined everyone, and they are called the prominent personalities in armed forces. Women, when we say women achievers, we can name many women, but especially in armed forces, we have not heard so many. So let us have a quick look at the prominent personalities in armed forces. We have Punita Arora. She is the first Lieutenant General of Indian Armed Forces and Vice Admiral of Indian Navy. So she is the first Lieutenant General in Indian Navy. Next, we have Padmavati Bandyopadhyay, first Air Marshal of Indian Air Force. So she was the first Air Marshal of Indian Air Force. Next, we have Mithali Madhumita, first female officer, recipient of Sena Medal of for Gallantry. Mithali Madhumita. Next, we have Priya Jingan, first lady cadet to join the Indian Army in 1992. She was the first woman cadet to join the Indian Army, Priya Jingan. Divya Ajit Kumar, Best All Round Cadet Award and Sword of Honor in Officers Training Academy. As I told you earlier, they will be trained in an academy, and after their training, they will be given awards. And this one, Divya Ajit Kumar, has got the Best All Round Cadet Award and a Sword of Honor, which is the highest award in the training academy. Next, we have Nivedita Chaudhary, who's the first woman for Indian Air Force to summit the Mount Everest. Climbing Mount Everest is not an easy task, and Nivedita Chaudhary, she was the first woman from the armed forces to reach the summit. Nivedita Chaudhary, along with other people, had started this expedition, and when she reached the summit, she did not know that she would be the first woman Indian from Indian Air Force to reach the summit. So we have Nivedita Chaudhary. Anjana Bahaduria, first woman to win a gold medal in the Indian Army. So we have many first in the armed forces. She's from Indian Army who has won the gold medal. Priya Semwal, first army Jawan's wife to join the armed forces. So we have seen many Jawans losing their life in the battle, or but Priya Semwal was one among them. Her husband lost, he was a martyr, and she did not stop there. She, as a to carry out his mission, he joined armed forces. She was the first woman army Jawan's wife to join the armed forces. Next, we have Deepika Mishra, who is the first woman pilot to train for helicopter aerobatic team Sarang. So, this Sarang helicopter aerobatic team Sarang is something which we should be proud of. This aerobatic team, helicopter we have heard of air show, right? So, Bangalore has conducted twice air show. So, helicopter with the help of the helicopter, they make all the aerobatics in the helicopter. It is not an easy task. Deepika Mishra is a first woman pilot in that team. Gunjan Saxena, first woman pilot officer to fly in combat zone. Yes, she is the first woman flight officer to fly flight in the combat zone is where the war is taken place. It is not an easy task, so she has done that. And to mention, there is a movie on Gunjan Saxena in Hindi. If you happen to get an opportunity, please watch that. Next, we have Sandhya Suri, the character what we are going to see in this particular lesson. Sandhya Suri, what is prominent about her is that she is the first woman officer to serve on the warship. So warship is something where it was highly dominated by male, but she is the first woman officer to serve in the warship, and that is not all that's also not an easy task. So till now, we have seen what is discrimination and what are the kinds of discrimination, and what is armed forces, and why do people join armed forces, and how armed forces also is a field where male it is a dominated domain, and we saw many prominent personalities in armed forces. In this particular lesson, it's an interview with Sandhya Suri. Interview is a skill where where one person from the newspaper or media interviews a prominent personality, and we get to know through this interview, we get to know about that particular personality's life and her, and the inspiration, motivation, and about the achievement. So here in this particular lesson, an interview with Sandhya Suri. As I told you earlier, Sandhya Suri is the first woman officer to serve in the warship. So, first woman officer to serve in the warship. In the interview to the Better India, so Better India is the name of the newspaper. So, in an interview with Better India, she talks about her inspiration, the challenges she had faced, and the fond memories of being in the warship. We also get to know about her childhood days, about her family background, and what were the challenges she had faced in the armed forces, and what are the achievements she has made in the armed forces or being in the warship, and what are her aspirations for the future um, armed forces or armed forces in future. So we will see what are these her inspiration, Sandhya Suri's inspiration, challenges faced, and her fond memories in the coming session. I hope you all understood, and it was a introductory session. As I told you earlier, we saw about discrimination. What are the challenges faced by women in different fields, especially in the armed forces, and why do people join armed forces? What is the speciality in joining the armed forces? And we also saw about the prominent women personalities in armed forces. And in this particular lesson, we are going to talk about Sandhya Suri, who is the first woman officer to serve in a warship. In the next session, we will see about her inspiration, about her challenges faced during her tenure, and fond memories she has had in the armed forces. Thank you all.